Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You already know what time it is. We are talking to you guys about Eric and Virginia. So let's get a video going and I'll explain what we're talking about today.
She's just maybe trying to find excuses to not want to come live with me over there. You know, I still get those feelings where she's gonna get scared off and just run away. These are
So we're talking obviously about why Eric decides to give ultimatums to Virginia in this particular episode. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notifications of the what up, lows, and for those of you who are returnees, look what it says. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. All right, let's talk about it. So looking at Eric and Virginia's relationship over the past few weeks, we've seen quite a few, I guess, themes running through it. Eric seems to keep on consistently bringing these ultimatums towards Virginia. And at first, you're probably thinking to yourself, you know, he's really controlling, etc., etc. And part of him, he is controlling in parts of him. But there's another aspect that I believe is happening at the same time, which we'll kind of see a little bit more later on in the clip if you listen to it carefully.
things she's told me on how she normally was with previous relationships. So yeah, I think about that. So I don't know. It's hard.
So he thinks about what? Things she's told him about what? Abandonment. What's happening here is that Eric is not feeling secure in the relationship. And so he's saying, so each time he says, I could be out the door, I can be out the door, you know, I can be out the door, it's actually because he's not secure in the future of this relationship. Which is really interesting because every time he meets somebody, like for instance Clara and Ryan for dinner, he's like, you know, we're great, we're amazing, da 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 da. So he covers every single time and presents this perfect image when he's in front of others because he's used to creating this image of class and we've got it wholesome and together, right? That's something that's often taught. More than likely, the family's got secrets and he knows how to keep them. So they teach you this from your family environment. But then now obviously when he's one-to-one with her, you know, he's the quickest to break her down, the quickest to say it's your fault, quickest to say you know what, either you like it or lump it or leave it. And whilst I'm definitely a person who believes that as a man you should rule and rule well and rule with strength as well, and be able to say, hey, this is how we're gonna go and this is how we're gonna lead, there is a lot of I can be out the door right now. There's a lot of that, and the reason why there's a lot of that again is because he's not secure in the relationship. What's not making him feel secure? At any given moment, she can go off the rails. You see, what happens is when the person you're dealing with is not secure and they themselves have issues that are beginning to affect your security, you start to speak like Eric does. In ultimatums, I could be at the door. And the reason why is because he's probably been through something similar in the past and he's probably told himself, I'm never going to deal with a situation like this again. But he's in a situation where he's now looking after somebody. There's a care aspect to his relationship with Virginia. She's got a drinking situation, right? It's, you know, and she's got abandonment issues. She's jittery. You know, she's got a lot of insecurities herself in the way she deals with things. Am I saying he's clean? No, I'm simply stating why he does what he does. And because of obviously he got cheated, I think he said he'd been cheated on in the past, didn't he, as well? This is also making him think about the fact that this person could abandon me. And that's triggering in itself. And so what's happening is he uses a defense mechanism of ultimatums. Hey, either you're here or you're either going to be with it or not. Now, obviously, this situation is a bit different and unique from a dating experience because when you're dating, you generally can leave. But when you're married, it's a marriage. And I guess obviously in the show purpose, you know, they have 8 weeks to decide. And so it's kind of similar to dating in that sense. But with dating, you have an exit door. And so you generally can say, I'm going to leave. But when you continually say that over time, it becomes a manipulation tactic. And it becomes a way to be able to control the person. What needs to be happening between the two of them is him really explaining, look, this really doesn't make sense. But the issue is that he thinks he's better than her. It's hard to say because I think I've been in a position like him. So I know the kind of thoughts. You consider yourself better than the person, or at least you're better than the situation that you're in. And now, obviously, this situation, he didn't choose the girl. The girl got chosen for him, and he's making it work. But still, the thought remains the same. You feel like you're either better than the situation's presenting, or you're better than the person in general. And so what happens is you're giving yourself a defensive clause by saying, look, either you're going to curtail the line or you're going to be out. Now, men might do this in the dating phase because they want to be able to, rule out certain women who are not about this life, who are not ready to submit and surrender. But obviously when in marriage, and that requires a bit of give and take. And so the whole situation around the housing situation, it made sense. I understand why both parties were saying what they're saying. I don't know if we can play a little bit more.
It takes time to sell something.
Okay.
I'm not gonna have 2 mortgages. I'm not gonna buy something and then have 2. I can't do that.
Now, the inflexibility of Eric here, totally understand. I think one of our panelists made a great point, which was that because he was so inflexible, he actually didn't ask the question, how long is your lease? We didn't see that anyway. We didn't see how long your lease is. What we heard was, I'm not going to pay for 2 mortgages. Why did he do that? Because instantly his thought was, my way or the highway. He only saw his particular way. And so he actually couldn't think of any other solutions to the problem. Compromise and sacrifice are 2 different things. In a relationship, you can't make too many sacrifices. Listen to what I just said. In a relationship, you can't make too many sacrifices. You can make compromises, not sacrifices. If you make too many sacrifices, you will bleed out. You will bleed out. We make compromises. Compromises means both parties move some level or some way towards the middle. Whether it's 70-30, 80-20, 10-90, there is some level of movement. Sacrifice is 100% conceding the point. Now, obviously, if you've been taught and renewed and you said, you know what, actually, it's not really a sacrifice anymore because actually I see what you're saying now. That's not a sacrifice. That's you coming to an educated point of standing and realizing actually the person's got a better point than I have. Sacrifice is when you say, I still believe my point and I'm willing to concede it for you. And so here they're having a conversation and he's saying it's all or nothing. Either you jump to my place or it's a highway. Right, and obviously he made a point about how she's making it separate, like you're doing that separate thing again. And obviously, yes, her abandonment issues will cause her to be separate and try to create distance from the 2 of them. And that's what abandonment issues does. There's a push and pull effect. They want to be drawn to you, at the same time they push you away because they themselves know that they have abandonment issues and they feel like they're scared to get close because they might lose you. Stay hydrated. So he senses that. And because, again, he senses that, because she's told him about the abandonment issues, because she's told him about things about her past, he's now, unfortunately, and that's beginning to override his actions in terms of how he feels about certain scenarios. Because now he has to take that into account. Oh, you got abandonment issues. No, that's the reason why you're thinking the way you're thinking then. That's the reason why you're trying to be separate, because you're at any point you're going to try and duck out. And so it's almost as fear in the relationship because you yourself know you're not secure in the relationship. It hits you twice. Person tells you some honest truths about their abandonment issues. You understand it. You understand their way of thinking. But now you're questioning every thought as, is it abandonment issue? Is it you're scared of intimacy? Right? And so now Eric's in this kind of really bad place because, you just never know when you're doing too much. And so from the outside, it looks easy to say, well, he's moving mad. And part of him is moving mad. Because in this particular argument they had, I was like, wait, bro, like, have you asked her if she's got a lease? Because if she's got a lease, she's got to pay the rent to a certain point in time. And then you can say, okay, you're not paying 2. But one thing was interesting. He said, obviously, I'm not paying 2 mortgages. And I get that. But again, there was a lack of actual consultation in terms of what her position was. And let's play a little bit more.
We're not going to just keep living in my place until we get our place.
I don't want to live separate. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, we're going to have to figure out a compromise on that somehow. I
see the compromise. It's pretty easy.
Now you see that obviously she brought up the word compromise. I'm trying to make a compromise. We get a place that's our place. That was her thoughts originally. I don't think it was even a bad thought. We'll get our place, right? And his thought is, well, I'm not going to pay 2 mortgages. His first thought has gone a bit too far ahead. Actually, the conversation that should have been having is, okay, cool. Do you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you, and this is why I know that fear is speaking from Eric. Because when you're thinking logically, your first thought is like, okay, cool. Do you know what? You're right. I want to get our place in the end, right? At the moment that I'm paying a mortgage at the moment, I think my kind of thought process is I fear a little bit of having to pay 2 mortgages. I don't know how financially that would work for me. Boom. See, the problem with relationships is this: when people are not emotionally vulnerable and available and they create emotional safe spaces, these conversations can't be had. Because all that needs to be said is, listen, hey, look, Virginia, I'm not going to lie to you. You know, I love my place where I'm at right now. I know that you're talking about compromise and going into our place. I actually agree with that premise. I just at the moment can't see how we get there, because obviously at the moment I'm paying the mortgage, and I guess I fear the way I'm thinking about it. I fear that I'm going to have to pay 2 mortgages. So I don't know. What's your lease saying at the moment? Are you locked into your lease at the moment? Okay. Let's say her lease goes, oh, I do it month by month. Okay, look, do you know what? I think it would be better if you move in with me. I know it's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze at the moment. I know the dogs are going to be a little bit on top of each other, but let's do it for now. Like, after the month, you move in, let's do it for now, and let's start looking at places to go forward after that. But when you're in fear, your first thought is to win. Let me say it again for you there at the back. Maybe don't hear me very clearly. When you're in fear, your first thought is to win, because the fear is speaking. Let me get some water and stay hydrated. Let me stay hydrated. When you're in fear, your first thought is to win, because you're defending yourself. You're not open to what's being said because it's about you. Because fear makes you focus on you. I remember I came to a revelation whilst I was doing some coaching, and the coach asked me a question about my fear, and I said, when I fear, my head goes down, and so I can't look up at the person that I'm coaching, and now everything becomes about me and my insecurity or my fear. And I realized at that moment, I'm no longer serving the person I'm coaching. When I start to fear in the moment because I might not know it all, or I might not have all the answers, I start to look down. Why? Because of fear. And then it becomes about me and not about the person. And so when you're in fear, it becomes all about you, and you're unable to open your ears to hear. Right? And so now the situation here, and again, fear in itself the problem isn't the fear. The problem is how you're going to voice this fear. Are you going to voice it and say, hey, look, I'm not going to lie to you, I actually feel a bit fearful. Like, I'm really trying to think about, like, this. The way I'm thinking about it is like 2 mortgages, Like, how do you see it? Because that's what I'm fearing. I'm fearing I'm going to have to pay 2 mortgages, and I don't want to do that. What did he say? He said, well, I'm not going to pay 2 mortgages. Yeah, that's dumb. I'm not going to pay 2. Why? Fear. It made him unable to be able to access a part of him where it's going to say, let me be open and see what you're saying. Let's play a little bit more.
You'll come stay with me until we find another place.
How is that a compromise? That's just what you want to do.
It's not what I want. It just makes more sense. Because I own it. You're renting. If you own...
Now, I get it. It makes logical sense. She's renting, you're owning the place, and I get it. You are paying that. And at first when I watched it, I was like, yeah, he's making mad sense. But when I watched it a second time, I said, yeah, but you ain't asked other questions though. And you're talking in directives and commands. While I believe there are times and seasons as that, I think in this particular instance, you may need to educate on this point as to why you're saying what you're saying. The whole, you gotta be me. You gotta be my side. Like she said, listen, how is that a compromise? Where is the compromise? So I'm not saying, again, because now she's about to sacrifice, and what you don't want to be doing is letting the person do too many sacrifices. They're going to feel some way after a while if they're doing too many sacrifices. That's why I say education needs to come into it, because when people are educated, they then realize it's not a sacrifice. I made a choice, that I understand where you're coming from. That's not sacrifice. But in the compromise, we have to meet at some level of middle ground. So I get it. Your house, you're paying the mortgage. Where's that extra question? It's something I learned from a previous partner. Where's the extra question? Where's that why question? What's that? What do you mean question? Where's that? Okay, how do you see it? Where is that question? Because that question allows you to have a productive conversation. Okay, let's play a little bit more and see what he says.
Own a place, you have to sell it. Then once you know you've sold it,
Right, I understand all of
move
this.
right into the place after you sell the other
I
one.
don't know why you're talking to me like I'm stupid and don't know this.
And honestly, this is the point. So Eric needs to stop this. It's becoming a little bit of a problem. I'm seeing this one or too many times. The condescending tone. She's not an idiot. She's not an idiot. So when he starts going on, I don't know if you know, you got to sell your place. And then, you are condescending, bro. And you need to come out of that space, Eric. Again, that condescending tone represents how you may feel that you're better than her in the situation, or you may feel you're better than her in general. Okay? And that high and mighty energy is coming through your words. You see, sometimes people don't need to say they're high and mighty. It's the words and the tone they use when they're delivering information to you. that lets us know where you stand at the moment with that person. And so with him, watching him, I see that obviously, yes, he's got a vision and everything, that where he sees what he needs to, where he sees they need to go, but the way he's delivering information, you know, and Virginia's not Virginia's very astute. I as much as I give her some heavy bars every week. What I've noticed about Virginia is she's very astute. Whenever he's moving mad, being condescending, being controlling, being too possessive, aside maybe the sleeping on the couch nonsense, which was absolutely crud, she picks up on his little nuances of behavior and goes, I'm calling you out. Yeah, don't do that condescending behavior to me. No. I can see you being condescending. No, I can see you. And in that is so astute for someone to pick that up. The way she's picking it up is so powerful, and she voices it as well. Like, so you can see that. So I just wish Virginia got some therapy, because, you know, it's not serving her to be in a place where she's being held ransom, I feel like, by drink all the time. And we're seeing more of a sensible side, because obviously the drinking's parties, everything's done now, but I hope anyway. But we're seeing a bit more, I guess, intelligence and more calm from Virginia. And I think you're seeing the dividends of her being in a space where she's coherent. You're seeing the dividends. So yeah, I mean, let me play a little bit more, and we'll talk a bit more as well.
I know how it works.
But you're not understanding that then.
I am. You're not understanding that I would be very, very uncomfortable living in your place.
I don't know what to tell you.
Now, obviously, I think she's going to explain why, but there's a need to explain why do you feel uncomfortable in that place. Again, he needs to draw that out of her and ask her, listen, wait, why would you feel uncomfortable in the place? And I think she mentions why. She says the dogs will be all on top of each other. And this is where he's meant to give her some assurance, say, hey, look, I know. And this is where commanding and directives can come in. You know, say, look, hey, look, do you know what? You're right. The dogs are going to be on top of each other. All right. But for now, let's do this now. And also let's start looking at a place that we can both move into. Right. The trouble is he's not even offering that, which makes me think that he's not going to move from his home. He's fixated on her moving into his home, and he's not moving anywhere. And unfortunately, due to the way they've met and everything like that, there is no this house. Like, you can still keep the house, Eric. You can always have a second house if you want to, or you sell it off and buy a new house. But the issue is this: the next step for them is that they move into a new home, because that's the compromise. You move into a new home. She's got her house, you got your house. So you move into a new home. And then obviously that will be the house that you guys live in, right? And so that will be an effective compromise. And also that will allow her to feel assured that you are actually saying, I'm taking into consideration what you're saying. I want to keep you safe as well. I want you to know that you're going to have your space. The dog's going to have their space as well. Because that's her concern. Address the concern, right? Let's play a little bit more.
I mean, I know where I'm going to live after this. If you want to come with me, you can come. If you want to go live somewhere else, go ahead.
And you see again, ultimatums. When you do that all the time, it's a control method. If you don't realize, stay hydrated. I need to start making these hoodies, don't I? Stay hydrated hoodies. When you do that, you're starting to go into a place where, you know, you're controlling the person through ultimatums and fear of leaving them. When you know she's got an abandonment issue, I don't think he's really thinking about that when he's doing his ultimatums, because it's more about his fear. But you don't realize, like, oh, I know where I'm going. I don't know where you're going. And it's like, bro, like, that control there is coming from a place of hurt, bruv. That's coming from a place of hurt, bro. Like, this needs to be a conversation that's open to both parties. You're talking about, where are we going to live? Me and you. Why are you trying to control the narrative? Why are you forcing me to come and live where you are? And I'm trying to tell you, listen, I would feel uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, cool. So what would make you feel more comfortable? It's the extra question. That's what we lack sometimes in conversation. It's the extra question. Okay, you're uncomfortable. What would make you feel more comfortable? And then you can get her idea of where she's coming from. Because until you get to the base and the crux of her motivations as to why her motivations, beliefs of why she thinks the way she's thinking, it's going to be very, 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 very hard to educate her out of something so that it's not a sacrifice. Otherwise, you're causing sacrifices. Sacrifices happen in relationships oftentimes because the other person refuses to concede, and it's very difficult to educate that person to another point of view. Right? Let's have a little bit longer at the looks and see what it's saying. Oh, I think it's done. I think it got done anyway. So yeah, let me end it there and just say, look, you know, the relationships, okay, sacrifice versus compromise. The two are different. The compromise is both parties coming to a place in the middle, or 70-30 or 80-20, whatever you call it. There's some movement on both sides. Sacrifice is a simple movement of one person all the way to the other side. Not sacrifice. And if you want to reduce the amount of sacrifices, hopefully, and the person's open to it, you educate the person to get them to understand your viewpoint. So guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notifications of uploads, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think about Eric and his particular tendencies to deliver ultimatums? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let us know your thoughts. What do you think about the situation? We appreciate you. Stay locked and stay loaded. More love.